Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game. It's a preview of West Ham against Swansea, where we're going to be discussing Swansea. We're going to be discussing Slaven Bilic's team, which could be the last time we discuss it as a Slaven Bilic team. And our guest tonight, well, he can write a good game, but we're here to find out if he can talk a good game as well. But before we get to him, we'll go with our usual man, Jason. Jason, what's your thoughts on our Welsh opponents, Swansea City?
I want to say they're in kind of a similar situation to us. They're sort of a bit of a team in transition, albeit though they've lost pretty much two of their most important players over the summer and replaced them with people I wouldn't quite say are to the same calibre. But they seem to have a very good manager in Paul Clement that's actually getting results, sets the team up quite robustly and defensively. They can't buy a win at home though, so I'm hoping we can take full advantage of that and play without any pressure when we head out over to the Liberty Stadium.
Before I pass you to my next guest, his name is Jim, but you might know him as the H-List on the West Ham blog. And well, my favourite West Ham blogger, if you watch this channel, the link to his latest blog is in the description below, but so check it out, but not until the end of the video, but do check out. But Jim, what's your thoughts on Swansea City?
A curious team, I think. I thought a few years ago under Rodgers and Martinez, they were quite progressive, played really good football, very attractive to watch, probably one of the kind of few other Premiership teams I would have been interested in watching in a game that didn't involve West Ham. They've declined quite a lot. I think they're quite cleverly run, so I will be interested this season to see if those new signings make a difference. Sanchez probably the big one, isn't he? Although he looked a player a couple of years ago. Now he's sort of fallen away. But yeah, I think I kind of agree with what Jason said. I think they're similar to us in transition. We should beat them.
Is there any other players, apart from Sanchez, Jim, is there any other players of Swansea you'll be looking out for on Saturday, or you think you could possess a bit of a danger to West Ham?
I do like Carroll, Tom Carroll. They picked up from Spurs at the end of last year. I think he's a neat player. I guess a couple of IUs on the pitch as well. That'll be interesting to see. I think they're a team that probably needs to be more than the sum of their parts.
Jason, what about yourself? Is there any danger men that you're looking a bit worried about from Swansea?
I guess sort of the forgotten man in Wilfred Boney. Now he's sort of come back to his homecoming in a way of where he sort of made a Premier League name for himself. I think if he can sort of rediscover the love again after he's been frozen out of Man City and Stoke, maybe he just needed to sort of return to his original roots in the Premier League, and maybe they could see the best out of him. I know he's still relatively young and is like late 20s, so you know they could definitely squeeze a few more years out of him if they get him back to form again.
Yeah, I've got my same opinion as you two. I used to quite enjoy watching them. I think they did wrong by getting rid of Monk, and I think they've been a bit here and there. But I just worry that they're too close to the danger zone for a couple of seasons now. And I do wonder if they're going to be the next Aston Villa, where they're all sort of just surviving. A bit like Sunderland did last season. They finally then went through the chapter. I think they're in danger of doing that a little bit. The other danger man that I like is the other striker, Abraham on loan from Chelsea. I like him. I think he's a good player, and it's good to see him in the Premier League. And I used to like Klukas when he was at Hull. I thought he was a fantastic player. It's not quite worked out from Swansea yet, but I do think there is a player in him, and he ran wild when he played for Hull at the London Stadium around about Christmas time last season. He ran wild against us, and probably should have been on the winning team there. But Jim, do you think they'll survive, or do you think they've maybe just not got quite enough quality?
It's difficult to say. Palace seem to be giving it a good crack at summing up one of the relegation places before Christmas. So that kind of leaves you with two to go. I think they probably will survive. I think some of the promoted teams will struggle. Huddersfield, I can see dropping down. So, yeah, I think Swansea will probably stick around another year at least.
Right, before we move on to West Ham, just to tell you that Swansea have actually had a clean sheet in the last 4 away games. That dates back to last season as well, however, but including away to Spurs last week. So they're by no means mugs on the road away from their stadium. They have been calling for the return of ex-West Ham Academy player Leon Vitton. He's been out the side recently, and last week in their home game against Watford, which they went on to lose 2-1. Their fans were chanting Leon Vitton's name. So it'll be interesting to see if Clement bucks to the pressure and brings him back in, or if he stays out of the fold completely. They are expected to play 2 up front and maybe a potential 4-4-2 with a diamond in the midfield. So that'd be interesting to see how Bilic counteracts that. But that's what we're ready to talk about. What should Bilic be doing this weekend? Jim, let's talk about the formation first of all. Been playing 3-4-3, or do you think we should change up a little bit? Swansea at home, it's been labelled as a must-win, our third must-win game of the season in what is the 7th fixture.
Yes. I think what I would take from this season so far is that we cannot play with 4 at the back and be solid defensively. We've let in 3 goals, or at least 3 goals in every game we've lost. So I think he's going to have to play the 3. And then the problem with that is it has a knock-on effect whereby it makes it very difficult to play Hernandez and Carroll up front without pushing Hernandez to one side or another. And I think Bilic himself has acknowledged this, hasn't he, in interviews, and kind of saying he wants to play them together as a partnership, but it's really difficult. I could see this as the sort of game where you might revert to 4 at the back, but I don't think he will. I think he'll play 3-4-3, and I think we'll see, pretty much similar to what we saw after Antonio went off on Saturday. Jason,
same question. I mean, it does tie into the Hernandez and Carroll debate a little bit here, because it's sort of, well, they go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I'm very much in agreement with Jim. I think he'll keep to that formation. I'd rather, if this was the case with the formation, I'd rather see one and then the other rather than seeing them together, because otherwise one of them's going to have to compromise and be shoehorned somewhere. I mean, I saw it was on These Are Mother Brown. They said Hernandez was like, "I'll play left back," and I'm just like, please, just don't give Slav ideas on this one, please, because he'll bite your hand off on that one for someone to play a wing back. But I'd say probably start Carroll on the bench and bring him on when the defence was looking tired, which I think was probably our original game plan against Spurs. But obviously things went out the window and it panned out the way it did.
What would you like to see up front, Jim? Not what do you think you will see? What would you hope to see? I mean, you've got Hernandez, the best striker we've had at West Ham in years, and you've got Andy Carroll, who Swansea is officially his favourite opponent. He's got 6 goals and 3 assists in 9 games.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know. And I know that's not really an answer that you're looking for. You're probably looking for a bit more insight. But I look at the squad as it stands right now, and I have no idea the best way that we should play. It's really difficult. You would never drop Antonio, probably our best, most consistent attacker. I know he's injured, but in an ideal world, he'd always play. You can't spend 24 million on Arnautovic and not play him. So that those two I think have to play. In an ideal world, I would like to see 4-2-3-1, the system that worked so well when Payet was in full flow. That allows you, I think, to get Lanzini in the sort of 10 role. The problem is finding a back 4 that can operate in that system without conceding 3 goals a game, because we'll go down if we continue to do that.
Well, I'll tell you what, I think he's going to change it. I listened to his press conference earlier, and he spoke differently about the partnership before. Before, he's always said, it's nearly impossible to play 3 at the back and play Carroll and Hernandez. And I make him right. I've challenged people to come up with a solution of where do you then put Antonio, and nobody can come up with one that doesn't put Antonio right wing back. And then that's what we were all complaining about. So I make him right on that. But today he sort of changed his tone a little bit and said, there's potential in the partnership. I want to see that partnership. And I just wonder if he's coming up with a plan to play them both, because if Swansea do go 2 up front, that means they're playing 4-4-2, and that sort of takes the pressure off the midfield a little bit. So you don't need that extra man in midfield sort of thing. And I think he's going to go 3 at the back, 4 in midfield. I think he's going to remove the wingers and play 1 in behind the 2. I think he's going to go a little bit narrower. But this is where the width has to come from the wing backs. And this is what I've got a problem with, but we'll speak about them in a minute. Jim, you mentioned Antonio. Him and Lanzini, they're in the squad for Saturday according to Bilic, but they're also both going to be half fit, roughly. Would you risk them, or would you keep them both on the bench, or would you just not have them in the squad at all?
I don't like risking injured players. I think it backfires. It looked to me, apparently Antonio was always a bit doubtful for the Spurs game, and you saw the impact of starting him and then the disruption that was caused when he went off, albeit he should have been replaced by somebody other than Carroll. No, I would have them as sub. If you can get 15 minutes out of them, play them on the bench, and play fit players in their correct position, and follow that as far as it will take you, and then change up with someone like Carroll from the bench with 20 minutes to go.
Jason?
Yeah, I hope we're not actually desperate enough to risk using these players and have the potential knock-on effect of having them out for longer. I think we've got ample options, probably not the gluttony of options, but yeah, we've got more players to put on that will do more of a job, and then risk a half-fit Lanzini and Antonio.
Well, it is desperate, but he's in a desperate position. This could be his last game. He's going to have to sort of take risks, whether unnecessary or not. At the end of the day, if he loses his job on Sunday is going to probably think, oh, I should probably have risked Antonio Lanzini. I would like to see them both on the bench. And this is why I think he's going to play one behind the two, so that there's like-for-like switches with Lanzini. So if it's not going well, you can get whoever's playing out behind that two out, and you can put Lanzini in his natural position without changing formation. Antonio can then go on for the right wing back. You don't change formation. And I think that's where he got his fingers burnt last week, because he changed formation, or certainly the system we were playing. But left wing back, this is the only other debate, I think, for starting positions. Jason, Masuaku or Creswell? As simple as that.
I'm going to go with Masuaku, actually. I really like what I've seen of him lately. He didn't do anything wrong at Bolton, scored a worldie. I think my head and heart, I go with Masuaku here.
Jim?
I will be contrary. I will say I would stick with Cresswell. I think Masuaku's been pushing pretty hard. Hasn't the problem with him historically been that he gets inside and then immediately is rubbish? You know, I'm thinking of like the West Brom game last year, or like the first game of this season when he played up at Man United. You know, presumably Bilic had spent the entire pre-season preparing for that. That was his first game. Played awfully, and then he disappeared for the last 5 games. So I think he'll probably stick with Cresswell. I do think Cresswell looks half the player since he was injured, though.
I would go with Masuaku as well. I think this is where you take the sort of the Noble thinking. We've always said this is a squad game. You play Noble in some games, but not in all games. I think you relate to this for the left wing back role, and that is you pick whichever one is best for the game. And for me, if you're sort of going to have to play a bit of a defensive role, it's Creswell. But for Swansea at home, you've got to have, in my opinion, most attacking left wing back, and that's Masuaku for me. I think the one thing that we need more out of this 3-4-3 is the fullbacks. They have to get up and down more. This is where, if you look at Chelsea, who are doing this formation completely the way you should, Alonso and Moses are in attacks. They're right up there. They're right up that pitch. Or Zabaleta and Creswell are sometimes behind Chiati and Noble. You can't be doing that in this formation. Those two players provide the width, and they're only doing it for the first 2/3 of the pitch. And I think on Saturday it's important they get into the final third, or we're going to struggle. But I think we will. Jim, is there any other changes you'd like to see, or any other thinking in your plans? Because I've got one, but before I say it, because I'm probably going to get a stick for it, but I'm going to say it anyway. But I'll let you two have your say first, Jim. Is there anything else you'd like to change up in the team?
This is difficult, but I do think Sakho is probably our best centre forward for a 3-4-3, because he's the most mobile and he can get from side to side. You know, he only started one game for us last year, which was Spurs away, and you know was outstanding, and you know took us almost to a victory. The problem with that is he doesn't want to play for us anymore. So I do sympathise with Bilic in that respect. But I think I would be looking for either him or Ayew to play, because I think we need more mobility. And I'd have Carroll as an impact sub. Behind them, I do like Obiang, but I think he's injured, so I don't think he will play. So I think it'll be Noble and Chiarte. And then, as I say, I wouldn't risk anyone who's half fit. So that'd probably be the way I'd go.
Jason?
Yeah, much the same, really. I think due to injuries in the middle of the park, we're kind of stuck with 2 dead certs in Noble and Chiarte to run the middle there. I just want to see us put some crosses in. I mean, what you were saying with the wing backs, I just want their instructions to be get crosses in, either for Hernandez or either for Carroll, and just get something on the end of it. I've just seen we just lack that sort of killer instinct once we get into that final third. But besides that, yeah, much the same. Maybe see Arnautovic feature on the left again, and go from there.
I think he's going to go Hernandez and Carroll up front. I think he's going to play Ayew in behind them. I think Arnautovic is going to be on the bench. I've just got a feeling. This is where I've always said Andre Ayew should be playing when we're not playing counter-attack. I don't think we're going to be playing against Swansea. They seem to decide when they're away from home, they sit back and let you have the ball. And that's where Andre Ayew's good. When you've got possession, where you're wanting someone to do that flick or that one-touch pass or something, he's the person. And I think if you get him in behind Carroll and Ayew, Carroll and Hernandez, he can also get in the box for crosses, and that's what he's good at. Tap-ins, he's a bit like Hernandez. He knows where to be, and I think get him in behind there, and we're good. But I would also have Rice in centre midfield with Noble. I think Czechia has been one of our poorest players this season. I still think him and Obiang failed to dominate a midfield against West Brom when West Brom had no intention of coming into our half, and they still did not dominate that midfield. I think it's our weakest area of the pitch. So I would have Rice in there. I don't think Rice has done anything wrong, really. So I'd have him in there as well. But anyway, before I ask these two if they're confident and start testing them for their score predictions, we've got our boats on Saturday. If you don't know, they're on the canal beside the London Stadium, behind the East Stand, across from the Aquatic Centre. You can get tickets. The link is in the description below. So if you fancy joining us for barbecue and a beer, more than welcome. We'll see you there on Saturday. But Jim, are you confident for this one? And what do we have to do to get the win?
Well, I'm going to challenge you to a duel in a minute for suggesting dropping Kyoto, which is absolutely outrageous. But I would say we will win 1-0 in a typically scrappy Bilic win that he always gets when he needs. And I think it will, what do we need to do to win? Yeah, just sort of the basics, really. And that has been good enough against Swansea in the past.
Jason?
Just with Swansea's away record, it's making me a bit twitchy. But if Andy Carroll's still red hot in his form, if he's their bogeyman, then I'd like to see him give them more nightmares with a 2-0 win, I'd say.
Yeah, what I will say is I think last Saturday I think the players show that they're still there for the manager. I think they're still fighting for the manager. They're still playing for the club. I think that's what's going to see us win on Saturday. I don't think it's going to be a glamorous fixture. I don't think we're going to win in style. I think it's going to be a case of get the job done, out. It's a big game, and that calls for big players, and we've got big players this season now. But before I ask these two one massive question, we've got our score predictions now. I'm saying 2-0 West Ham. I think we'll get two late goals as well, a bit like Huddersfield. Betway, if you don't know, we're doing a charity bet with Betway every week where we pick our West Ham bet. Betway price it up and they stick a 50 quid bet on. And if it wins, it's going to charity, which is for Isla, the young hammerette who's got a child's cancer and needs to raise a lot of money to go get treatment. And that bet is Hernandez to score, West Ham to win, Martin Noble to pick up a card, and West Ham to get more corners than Huddersfield. And that last one's definitely coming in because Swansea have had 2 corners in their last 2 away games and they conceded 25. But anyway, last question for you two. It's a tough one. It's a big one, I think. Jason, I'm coming to you first. Bilic, if we lose, should he go? And if we sort of win, should he still go, or how long does he have? What's your thoughts on this? If we lose, is he out?
I think he's like in managerial purgatory at the moment. I think is the best way to describe it. He's neither dead nor alive at this moment in time. He's just surviving. I think if we were to lose, it depends on the manner of the loss as well. If the players are still giving 100%, I think there's still that glimmer of hope. But if we go down and go down bad, it could be pretty ugly. But yeah, just depending on the manner of the loss, I think will weigh heavily on whether Bilic stays or goes.
Hang on a minute, Jason. I was meaning your opinion of what you think will happen. If we lose, Jason, do you want Bilic to go?
Oh, right. I think it's a step too far from him. If we lose, it's been like we've been in the same deja vu situation once or a million times. It's almost, we can't keep giving him that extra bit of rope.
What about yourself, Jim? I mean, I've been picking up a vibe from you on your blogs anyway, so I might know your answer. But if we lose on Saturday, Jim, would you like to see Bilic sacked?
Well, I think one of the problems with writing a blog is that you have committed every sort of thought you've ever had to memory, and people can go back and look at that and hold you to account. So I can almost date exactly when I lost faith in Bilic, which was last year away at Arsenal. We got beaten 3-0 and we're pretty insipid. So in all honesty, losing on Saturday probably wouldn't move the needle for me because I would have got rid of him last year already. That being said, one thing I think that's worth considering is we're into a very soft part of our fixture list now. I think our next 6 games are pretty winnable, and obviously we will lose to Palace in there and give them their first win of the season, but it is all, it is winnable. And so there is a part of me that wonders whether or not you might look for the just immediate uplift you get from a new manager and take advantage of those fixtures. I think it's more likely Golden Sullivan will give him time and ride that out. I don't think he gets fired this year unless we really look awful. I think they'll just let him go at the end of his contract.
Yeah, if we lose Saturday, I think he's got to go. I've been one of Bilic's biggest defenders, if you like. Not just Bilic, managers. I like to see managers given time. I don't like this whole sacking and like the Frank de Boer thing at Palace was the biggest joke I've seen in the Premier League. I don't like seeing managers sacked. But if we lose on Saturday, I just think it's too far. I just can't see, as Jim's just said there, the fixtures ahead are crucial for our season, really. And if we're on a losing streak, teams will be licking our lips when they play us, and they'll be coming after us. They're not going to hand back. If we go away to Burnley, that's our next fixture. Sean Dyche is going to say, this is 3 points, boys. Look at them. They've just got beat by Swansea. I know there's an international break, but we go in there. But that international break, I think, also favours David Sullivan, so he can sack Bilic Saturday night, Sunday morning, and he's got 10 days to get a manager in and give him 3 or 4 days with the players. He's got a long, long time to go get someone. The managers are becoming available now. Now, don't mean Carlo Ancelotti, but there's other managers now that are sort of, you feel like you could get them out of certain clubs and stuff. So I do wonder. But anyway, that's it from us. We'll be back on Saturday with our review from the boats and some other stuff. Gonzo will be doing his vlog. We've got a video going up tomorrow night. Gonzo did a stadium tour, a match day tour before the Huddersfield game, and it's going up tomorrow night on Channel Friday, so check that out. Also, pop over to Jim's blog, the H list. The link is in the description. I made it easy for you. Just click it, have a read, and get your boat ticket while you're down there as well. But Jim, thank you very much for coming on. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Indeed, thank you for having me.
Jason, thank you as always.
Anytime.
Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you're new, and we'll see you on Saturday.